This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to upload a video that I put on the website because I was planning on putting it on YouTube. I know nobody's really on this channel. This channel actually never got a chance to get built out. But thankfully, because of the subscribers on the website, I was able to find this channel. So I'm going to put up a video about Donald Trump's speech in Waco and this Christian persecution which is coming. It is really important. I feel like it's being drawn more and more on my heart to start talking about more and more of these signs of a Christian persecution, which we're seeing all over the place. And Trump is going to be herding Christians into this. There's a reason that they did this at Waco. A lot of you are young, so you don't know anything about Waco. And you need to know about Waco. You need to know about the narrative, and you need to know about why they're bringing the narrative back. So I'm going to upload the video from the website here, which I don't normally do. But again, I wanted to put it out on YouTube. And the majority of my content for now is going to be going up on the website. I apologize for those of you that can't afford the website or can't get on the website. You know, don't blame me. You could blame YouTube. I mean, not many people have fought harder than I have to try to remain on here and put content up. So I also am building out a Rumble channel, which I'll be uploading on, and that's linked below. I think one of the things they caught me on was linking, like link backs and linking other channels. And VPN, not using a VPN every time. I don't know. So anyway, I'll have my Rumble channel link below. Make sure you sub to that. This video I'm putting up is from the website. There's a very good chance that this channel gets nuked pretty quick. I mean, it's not going to take them that long to figure out it's me. Now, there's other YouTube channels that are using the same name, that have the same name. Obviously, this channel's my name originally, right? But what can I do? It's like anonymous. Other people want to use the name, they can use the name. But if you're looking for my channel with my exclusive content, it's linked below my other backup channel, which I'm going to change the name of eventually, but I'm not even be able to get around to building it out. So the new YouTube CEO, okay, people out there need to know this before I play the video from the website. The new YouTube CEO goes by the name of, let me just make sure I say it right, Neil Mohan. And surprising again, it is another person from another country who's a communist who's taken over a big tech company. As we see, there's no white Caucasian males for a reason, because they're infiltrating our entire country with communists. But Neil Mohan is a guy who they've put in charge, who is on the board of the Council on Foreign Relations. So how much more New World Order can you get? I mean, he might as well just say he's a member of the World Economic Forum. He's on the Council of Foreign Relations. He's a member of NATO. So the nuking is just going to continue for anybody who's Christian and anybody who's speaking against this. And honestly, I don't know what Neil's problem is. I mean, it's not my fault he was born with no dick. I don't see why Neil doesn't try one of his conversion therapies that his website promotes so much, and maybe go grow a penis and grow a pair of balls, because there's nothing more cowardly than removing free speech. But at the same time, there should be nothing more obvious to other people out there who aren't awake yet when they see people getting censored and silenced, that what they're trying to do is prevent you from realizing what they're actually doing. And you could see that stuff going on all around the world, in France, in Israel. The people are starting to fight back against the leadership, because the leadership is literally becoming dictators, just like here in America, where we don't have free speech anymore. So I don't know what Neil's problem is. Again, he could blame his parents. I can't. It's not my fault that he was born dickless, but he was, and that's what they're doing on the platform. So Neil, my apologies, but maybe you should try your Baphomet conversion therapy and grow a pair. But we know that won't happen, because you're a coward, just like every other Nazi. Well, I shouldn't say Nazi. Every other commie working at YouTube. And again, have fun nuking the channel. But sorry, I just wanted to get that off my chest. And again, I know some of you are like, don't say any stuff. You're going to get censored. Well, I don't want to live like this anymore, of being censored, which is why I don't even see the point of building out on YouTube. I see a point of people coming to the website where I could freely talk, and I will work in and out on Rumble to see how things go. And I'll throw things up here, but it's just a matter of time. You don't think people notice that this channel's up? They're not going to report it. I mean, they're going to report it. You should see the appeals that I put in. They get taken down. I mean, they reject the appeals in 5 minutes, which means nobody's looking at the appeal. It means there's like an auto check to just automatically send me a response immediately. So anyway, these are the psychopaths that we're working against. But don't worry, it doesn't hurt my spirit. It only burns a fire inside of me to continue pushing forward to hopefully one day silence the insane and take down this communist regime like Neil. So here's the video, which will likely be taken down from the website. It's important. Everyone check it out. I thank everyone again for being here. Make sure you sub the other channels below.
YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show, exclusively here on acallforanuprising.com. It's very interesting how this worked, because about 10 days ago, I started planning on doing a video about Waco. Now, I wasn't going to do a video deep diving into Waco and if it was a psyop or not. I wasn't going to do a deep dive in anything other than the trailer that came out for Netflix, which was showing Waco with a very familiar theme that we're starting to hear about Christians. Crazy Christians, armed up, isolation, thinks the government's after them, thinks Armageddon's coming, guys thinking, David Koresh thinking he's a false prophet, referring to himself as Christ, the way they edited the entire trailer. All of those things are obviously concerning to me. I felt it called on my spirit to talk about it, because you might remember, if you didn't see the video, I did upload it here. I was talking about how the Satanic Temple was coming out, and now they're suddenly the victims, which is one of the reasons I think my channel got taken down, because it said harassment towards a specific group of people, and it was on the Satanic Temple of all things, right? So the Satanic Temple, who's going to schools, are telling people that there's bomb threats being called in. Christian parents are calling in saying they're going to shoot up the school. All psychological operations created by our government. So that being said, Donald Trump began his 2024 campaign rally on the 30th anniversary of Waco in Waco. And the second I heard that, I said, oh boy, that's not good, because the narrative that's going to come out of that is crazy, hateful Christians in Waco. We're living through the same time period. Everyone in Texas all armed up. Trump is trying to incite violence because he's doing it on Waco on the 30th anniversary. These are all things that we should be frightened about, or I shouldn't say frightened, because we should never be frightened because of our faith. But these are all things we should have on our radar and be aware of, because other Christians need to know that the Christian persecution is coming. The narrative that we're seeing all over the place is Christianity as evil. This is something we've seen throughout history, and it's happening again. You might not be familiar with some of the other stuff. I covered Stranger Things, right? How they made the character who was supposedly the villain into the hero, the gothic guy who liked heavy metal. They try to relate it to the West Memphis 3. He was framed by the crazy Christians in the town. I'll play that clip, but I'll also play you the clip for Waco. And then we'll talk about Trump's speech and some of the stuff that he was saying, because this all ties into a major Christian persecution coming, and Christians need to be aware of this and start seeing the signs, because they're everywhere.
It was a bunch of people that you could tell really loved each other.
What about these people here? They think I'm the son of God.
They believed that the end of the world is coming soon, and that they were going to be in a battle with the federal government.
They were amassing enough armaments to outfit a small army.
To seize all of the illegal weapons.
And they're shooting at us at Mount Carmel, telling their children and women in here to call it off.
Ugly situation, almost a warlike zone going on there.
David made such statements as, we are ready for war.
Hey, y'all been preparing 8 months for this. How long do you think we've been preparing?
They believed that David Koresh was the key to their eternal salvation. There's no doubt that David Koresh had sex with young kids.
The whole time we were having sex, it was a Bible study.
Do you put your trust in the Lord?
I am the Lord.
Dungeons and Dragons, first regarded as a harmless game of make-believe, now has both parents and psychologists concerned, saying it promotes satanic worship, ritual sacrifice.
Want something freak? Stop! If I may interject, gentlemen.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I can't bear to listen to any more excuses and lies. Last night I saw things I can't explain. The police don't want to believe. And things that I don't want to believe myself. And I've come to accept an awful truth. These murders are ritualistic sacrifices. We've all heard about how satanic cults are spreading through our country. And Eddie Munson, he's the leader of one of these cults. They call themselves Hellfire.
The Hellfire isn't a cult, it's a club for nerds.
A club, a harmless club. That's what they want you to think. It's a lie. A lie designed to conceal the truth. I came overcome with this feeling of hopelessness. Then I remembered Romans 12:21. Not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. It's in this room, right here, right now, to ask for your help, to join me in this fight. Let us cast out this evil and save Hawkins.
So you could see the narratives, right? You could see the Waco narrative, okay? And a lot of people out there don't know much about Waco, or they're too young. Some people don't know about Ruby Ridge, but these are times where the government was going after armed civilians, and this is something that we're seeing begin again now. We're seeing regulation passed for red flag laws that are going to prevent Christians or quote-unquote people like me, who now we can clearly see they have my IP address blocked on YouTube, because they're going to try to make me out to be somebody that I'm not. They're going to try to make me out to be violent when I'm not violent. They're going to try to make me out to be somebody who's going to do something bad when I'm not going to do anything bad. I have no intentions to do anything bad. I'm just trying to sound the alarm here on the internet to people out there to get prepped, get ready, and see the persecution that's coming. Because what's happening now is Christians are starting to get very lukewarm, and Christians are starting to get watered down because they're getting sucked up into this social status ideology of, oh, you got to be politically correct. Oh, you can't question the LGBT. If you question the LGBT, oh, you're a violent, hateful person who doesn't deserve to live. Huh? Oh, you can't disagree. You're a criminal if you disagree. That's where all this stuff is heading. And then when you see this narrative with Trump and some of the stuff he talked about, which is, it's hilarious because, you know, I tend to remember a lot of the things that these people say because they all double talk. You know, Trump was somebody who was pro-abortion. And at one point in time, when Trump was president, he had the LGBT at the White House. He wasn't anti-trans. He wasn't anti-free speech. I mean, he wasn't pro-free speech because all this censorship started when he was president. So now Trump suddenly is playing to the crowd, right? Which they're lumping Trump in with Christians. Trump, God, guns. These are the narratives that are out there. Here's one of the narratives from this article, what it means for Trump's campaign to start in Waco. Holding his first rally near the site of the infamous federal raid could be seen as a coded message to those on the extreme. So technically, you're on the extreme. I mean, this is these are people who literally had a tank run over them. There were children in the house, and the government got away with it. All right. Some people believe that Koresh was a government agent. He very well could have been. I've heard lots of different narratives. I can't say for sure with Koresh versus, Jim Jones was 100% CIA intelligence. Okay. And the CIA had him whacked down there. Nobody took the Kool-Aid. It was an inoculation. I won't get into it because I don't want anyone to lose focus on what I'm discussing here. But this says every revolutionary movement needs martyrs. The modern U.S. militant right has long had its own, and the most important among them have been dead for 3 decades. The 70-plus men, women, and children killed in the spring of 1993 at the conclusion of a 51-day government siege at a compound outside the central Texas city of Waco. They were members of an armed Christian sect, unfamiliar and isolated, and for many Americans, Waco was another footnote in the country's long history of violence. In the worldview of right-wing militancy, however, Waco is foundational, a gory testament to the dangers of gun control and the deadly power of federal authorities. Waco fueled the rise of the militia movement in the 90s and inspired the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995, another false flag operation. That was one of the ways that the government was trying to make it, take a pressure off of themselves by having I can't even think of the guy's name off the top of my head, going after the ATF and the Oklahoma City bombing. These are all
inside jobs, and they're all psychological, but a lot of the times it doesn't mean that they're psyops. These things actually do happen. Okay? A lot of people with Waco, I mean, they literally, murdered these people for no reason other than being armed on their property. There was no threat. They targeted them because they needed to look better in the public eye after what they did at Ruby Ridge, because Ruby Ridge was a big deal. There was an uprising coming then. So then they started to pin stuff on Christians being dangerous, Christians being armed, Christians being isolated, Christians believing Armageddon was coming and seeing signs of the apocalypse. Do you see where this narrative's going now? Look around us. We have vaccine mandates. We have transhumanism. We have them telling us that they want to alter and edit our DNA. They have free speech removed, and now they want to remove guns, and they want to tie us into Trump and this extreme right-wing movement. That's something, obviously, we all need to avoid. That's something that I'm trying to warn people about. And if you don't think that there's a reason that I'm getting censored versus other people, it's because of the left-right paradigm. All these Trumpers are out there speaking. I'm not complaining about it for the 1000th time. I'm saying that it is a very key thing for Christians not to fall into this deception. I hear Trump on the mic. I get it. He's great on the mic. He's funny. He says a lot of things that resonate, but it's not real. It's a trap. They are trapping, and now they are labeling Christians as extremists. So all this stuff Trump said in his speech, he's talking about, critical race theory. So he's riling up ethnicities. He's talking about, all just ripping into trans people, which of course it's funny to hear because, it is insanity. But he wasn't calling trans people insane back then, talking about the gender and the bathroom and all that stuff. These are all trigger points that are going to obviously lure Christians in because we see the disgusting perversion that's going on around us. So Christians are getting lured in, and then narratives like this are coming out where Trump speaks for the first time. He picks Waco. And I mean, it couldn't be more obvious. It says in the run-up to the rally, Trump hasn't mentioned the events of 1993. Instead, he has grabbed hold of the news cycle by warning of his potential indictment and arrest over an alleged campaign finance violation in 2016 and evoking the specter of violence. He urged his followers to protest, take our nation back. He warned that an indictment could lead to death and destruction and create years of hatred, chaos, and turmoil. He added, "They are not coming after me. They're coming after you. I'm standing in their way." These statements channel the same anxieties that Waco has long stirred about the existential danger of the federal government controlled by Democrats. And that really wasn't what was going on at Waco necessarily with the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party wasn't fully communist until pretty much Obama, I think. I mean, you want to say Bill Clinton, that's fine. That's just my opinion on it. But they make these things up and these narratives up. Like I could sit here all day and talk about nobody should be protesting. Nobody should be doing any violence. And they could come out tomorrow, frame me, and just be like, this guy his voice was angry, so he's invoking violence. And you can go, wait a minute. He said over and over again not to, he doesn't want violence. He doesn't want anything against the government. He's just trying to wake up Christians. Oh, no, that's not true. That's what we're seeing the government do. They're just ignoring stuff and making narratives up. So now the narrative is that Trump chose Waco to rile up Christians because Christians were the victims, and we all need martyrs, apparently, which, of course, is their way of taking shots, at Jesus, and taking shots at our beliefs. Then it goes on to say, Oath Keepers leader Stuart Rhodes, who was convicted last fall of seditious conspiracy for his role on January 6th, the last time Trump called on his followers to defend him, told me in an interview before his arrest that he'd seen the existential slaughter of Waco as a huge wake-up call. Well, that was in 1993, so I don't know what took Stuart Rhodes, but clearly these government ops that are in the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, they're going to bring attention to these things now. Do you think it's coincidental that they're releasing this Waco documentary now? Don't give me, it's 30 years. There have been dozens of Waco documentaries. They're releasing one now because it fits the narrative perfectly. You heard the trailer, and I had to cut some parts out, but you heard the trailer. What's the narrative you took from the trailer? Christians are crazy. Christians are extremists. Christians believe in some type of an apocalypse, or the government's against them. Well, those people did believe the government was against them. And guess what the government did? They ran them over with the tank and burned them alive, right? But if you speak against that, of course, you're anti-democrat. How about pro people living and having a choice to have their freedom of religion? As Christians, I don't agree with any other religion, but it doesn't mean I don't think people should have that right. I pray that they'll come to Christ. But again, we see some of the stuff even going on in Israel with the banning, which is another video I'll do, but I'm sure some of you have seen in the forum, talking about how, if Christians try to convert people, it's going to be illegal, things like that. I mean, how people don't see what's coming is really because of the lukewarming of the church. And I'm not anything special. I'm no special Christian. I'm not better than anybody else. I sin every day. I make mistakes every day. I've got a foul mouth a lot of the times. I try as hard as I can, just like everybody else. But if we don't get fire in the church and we don't get people to stand up, then what are we good for? Because Christians are just going to get led down this new age spirituality, love everything, tolerate everything, accept everything, even when these people come to your door and ask you if they could sleep with your 10-year-old child. Because the more they desensitize them to the perversion and the disgust out there, the more that they accept it. And they go, oh, whatever, why should we be confrontational? They fluoride them up, they dump chemicals on them day and night, they get weaker and weaker, and now look what we see of men in this world. How weak are the men in this world? Not you guys on the website, not myself, but they're even taking our right to speak away. I mean, I'm losing the right to actually speak words. Like words are apparently a gun to these people. By calling out Satanism, by calling out agendas, by showing you, look, you might not have connected the dots, but look what the narrative is around Waco. Look at the narrative around Trump and why he picked there. And because the right-wing extremists are just going to come out. Can't see where this is headed? Whew. This guy goes on to write, look just beneath the surface and you can see Trump and his allies playing directly into the particular fears and narratives of right-wing militancy. Militancy, right? Keep in mind, Waco was a church. I don't even know what David Koresh taught. I don't even know if he actually said he was the Christ or they edited it that way. I've never gone through the tapes of David Koresh. I probably don't agree, and I've heard of the narratives that, he was sleeping with the kids. But these are the things that they always make up. So how can you believe what you hear? All you could say is, well, these people were in a house not bothering anyone, and they were armed in their homes. Nobody was walking the streets with machine guns. So no matter what was going on in there, unless he was committing these acts, they could have just went in and arrested him. They didn't need to light all the children on fire, but that was the end result of what they did. And again, there's a lot of documentaries on Waco. There's one in particular that's really good. The rest of them are really just propaganda pieces. This is back when, you could make a documentary and sell it on a VHS. Do the stuff Ted Gunderson was doing to try to get around being controlled and having yourself censored. But now everything's just completely censored. But anyway, if anyone wants to know the documentary, I'll look for it. It's pretty sad. It's pretty gruesome. But again, I mean, you got to take some of these things with a grain of salt because a lot of these things are psyops and false flags. In that situation, hard to think that there was no narrative that really came out of it except the whole crazy Christian narrative. But at the time, people were actually siding with the Branch Davidians. They were siding with the people in the house because they were like, well, why didn't you just burn them alive? We don't agree with that. There's babies inside. So it wouldn't make that much sense for them to do it, but then they could roll out Oklahoma City. Right? Then they could just roll out PSYOP after PSYOP. So, of course, they go on to talk about McVeigh. That's the Oklahoma City bomber. Yeah. And, if you've ever seen those documentaries with the militia, I mean, it's just ridiculous stuff. But anyway, he thought, this is McVeigh from Oklahoma City. He thought that Waco previewed a coming battle against the New World Order. In the lead up to his rally there, Trump and his allies have echoed the New World Order theory, claiming that George Soros, the Jewish-American investor and philanthropist, is behind the pending charges against him. Trump called Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan district attorney leading the investigation, who is black, like why do they even have to mention that, Soros-backed animal. Right? So by calling him an animal, that incites racism. I mean, this stuff is so easy to see, what they are doing to us and how they are dividing us, and then how they're literally putting us without even our consent. Like, I'm getting taken down and I'm not even a registered Republican. I'm not a registered voter. I don't tie into this stuff. So people need to see that this is what they're doing now. And that's, it makes me somewhat fearful of my content because I'm like, they're going to just say that I'm trying to incite this stuff, and I'm not. I just want to be left the F alone. Excuse me. I just want to be left alone like everybody else out there and wait for the coming of our king. But, that's crazy now. Right? Just to say that now is crazy. That's the narrative that they're going to create by showing the Waco tapes, having Koresh interviewed, editing his interviews to make it sound the way that they sound it. Right? So then people go, oh, well, these Christians could be dangerous. They're armed. They're against this New World Order. Oh, right, the New World Order is not here. They only come out and call it the liberal world order. They only keep saying it over and over again. They only talk about control, taking away your, gas stoves, your fireplaces, your gas vehicles. Yeah, there's no enslavement here. Amazing how people can't see it. It truly is. So Trump called him a Soros-backed animal. Then the Ohio Senator J.D. Vance accused Bragg of being bought by Soros. So this is the mainstream narrative they want out there. This is why people like Russell Brand and the Ben Shapiros can talk, because they keep you trapped in these paradigms. With Brand, like if you notice, like they could talk about the vaccine, but the whole narrative with the vaccine isn't about gene editing, it isn't about altering you. Right? It's about big pharma making money. Those are the narratives that they want out there. They want that to be the conspiracy narrative. So they're on your side from the standpoint of saying, oh, the vaccine's not good. Or, oh, the liberals are really bad. But then they want to keep you sucked in the middle so they can herd you into this stuff. And Christians are the ones who are going to get duped into it. Article goes on to say a coded message of revolution. Trump's campaign was denied choosing to hold a rally in Waco. Has denied choosing to hold a rally in Waco because of its history. But the event, which will be held at the city's airport, comes as the violence of 1993 resurfaces in the public consciousness. Is it? It's only resurfacing in the public consciousness because the mainstream media is bringing it up, because Netflix is releasing a documentary on it. I mean, I've been talking about these things in Jonestown forever. Is it a coincidence that they're making a Jonestown movie with Leonardo DiCaprio? Well, what do you think the narrative of that's going to be? Oh, Jones was a crazy minister. Oh, he led all his people down there. Those are narratives for people like me and you. They'll say someone like me, oh, he's trying to lead a revolution, not trying to lead anything, just like to speak, just would like to have the right to talk. I've already cut my tongue in half here with some of the stuff that I could say, even on the website, right? Because it just naturally starts to happen when you keep censoring yourself. You're afraid to go out in public and talk about certain things, right? And I'm not afraid to go out in public and talk about these things, but can you notice, right, how more and more people are non-confrontational? People don't want to talk about any of this stuff. So anyway, they're saying it's resurfacing in public consciousness because they're bringing it up is why. Last month marked 30 years since the start of the siege, an anniversary that will continue until April 19th. 2 television series have been launched to coincide with it, a 6-part dramatization on Showtime, a 3-part documentary on Netflix. So you don't think Netflix would call up Showtime and be like, oh, you're doing one? Well, then there's no point in us doing one and putting all this money into it. Oh, and by the way, Paramount just had a show with actors portraying the whole thing, and there's about 50 other documentaries on it. So, I mean, yeah, it's in the public consciousness, not because you're putting it out there, the mainstream media, of course. And this is just an article that's out there, Like, this guy can't use his brain and be like, well, they are putting it out there. Oh, but because it's the anniversary, they're putting it out there. No, they're putting it out there because they want the narrative out there. So back in 93, the people living in a compound known as Mount Carmel in the outskirts of Waco were members of the Branch Davidians. Their leader, David Koresh, said he was a prophet and that God had spoken to him, telling him to prepare his followers for the apocalyptic battle. Now, that appears to be true, that he claimed to be a prophet, but last time I checked, that wasn't a crime, because I see plenty of people on YouTube claiming to be prophets. In fact, I see some videos, some people I've watched for a long time cover these people, and I'm just like, how are people still listening to these people? Oh, they're not getting, there's no problem with them, the ATF ain't coming to their door, right? The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives suspected the Davidians of having illegal weapons cache in the compound that included machine guns and grenades. And by the way, the ATF has been laying low for a long time. The ATF was just on Capitol Hill. So don't think that the ATF isn't going to be involved with gun sieging. People are like, well, the IRS might come to our door. Yeah, the ATF is going to be called to come and scat at your home and whatever they decide, red flag. Oh, you looked at a call for an uprising? Well, we're going to have to confiscate your weapons. Even though he doesn't call for violence, he calls for you to just protect yourself at all costs, I guess, or just, defend yourself or watch out for Big Brother. That's what the call for an uprising calls for. But to them, that's violence. That's danger. Then they'll keep pushing this narrative, right? So the article just goes on to talk about the worst fears about gun confiscation and federal overreach. So Americans saw their biggest fears being gun confiscation. That's not what Americans saw. Americans were concerned because the government ran a tank through the house and lit everybody on fire. That's what they were concerned about. They were concerned because they easily could have just ended the standoff pretty quickly because nobody had to shoot first because the government shot first. And then they claimed that they didn't, but they could have resolved it. But what did they do instead? Oh, well, 50 days goes by. And by the way, you saw Bill Hicks there. If you're not familiar with Bill Hicks, some believe Alex Jones was actually there at the at the compound at the time. But I mean, the American people's response was not about gun confiscation. Their response was, holy crap, the government just lit a house on fire with a tank. That's what their concern was. But they'll, nowadays you don't need any truth. Whatever the left says, their followers believe. And then the other problem is that everything on the right, everyone's so irritated with the insanity they're allowing that they're like, well, Trump's the better of two evils. I mean, he does say the right things, right? And that's exactly the point. So they'll keep pumping this out and victimizing, of course, the wicked people and continuing this narrative. And remember, I played the stuff with Stranger Things. Even the movie that just won, Brendan Fraser won an Academy Award for The Whale. Like, the whole plot of the movie is he got fat and depressed because his boyfriend, his lover, was the preacher's son, and he committed suicide because he couldn't live with the shame. So what do you think it won an Oscar for? Because the guy gained weight? It won an Oscar because that's the narrative. Because all these movies that they get critical acclaim push this narrative. Christians are the enemy to them. Period. And the Bible tells us this, that we will be persecuted for his sake. The Bible tells us what is to come. So I just wish Christians would be prepared. I wish I could do this stuff on YouTube and try to help people wake up. But I'm so grateful for everybody who's here on the website. It's just, part of me, it is scary to see some of this stuff. But I mean, it's also beautiful in a sense because prophecy's coming true. But I mean, just be careful of what you say and do. It's like the majority of us really are just like hoping the trumpets sound. We can get out of here. I mean, we really are. Because when you think about it, I mean, this is the government's plan. So they have it mapped out step by step. Like, we're all trying to outsmart them. But I mean, you don't think that they've thought about people with survival food and farming on their own, that they don't have something in place that we don't know about, or rounding people up who have food and forcing them to share. I mean, they've got a plan in place. So just pray, stay strong in the word. Obviously, Christians need to support one another. Because this is happening all over. The church is divided all over the place. I see all Christians, they argue online. You see how many people do it with me. And I'm just like, what? I have Christians, then they argue with me about reparations. And they're like, well, somebody wrote something about Harriet Tubman or something. I'm like, what are you talking? What? All right. I mean, can I go back to the Armenian genocide as a Christian and say, I want them to give me money in hand? I mean, stop getting sucked into their bullcrap narratives. It's all it is to drive you nuts and divide all of us through every means possible. Skin, gender, sexual orientation, all that type of stuff. It's all they're doing is working both sides, and they're working everybody so against one another. Like, while Trump was speaking, I saw the tweets on Twitter, and the liberals were in an uproar. They're calling for violence on gays. And I'm like, they're calling for violence on gays. He said there's going to be no trans stuff in schools. I mean, okay, and then the trans people have a problem with it, but they just call it violence. They call it, I mean, it's insane. I could sit there for hours and talk about nonviolence, and they'll be like, he's violent. Did you hear the tone of his voice? I mean, they're literally nuts. So I see why people on the right get all worked up, but you just, I want to be wrong about it, but I know that that's the way that it is. I mean, it's just... Trump's playing a role, and we don't know what's coming next. If they're going to do something to cause a massive civil unrest like we've never seen. And we have the stuff with Putin lurking, and the narrative that should be most important to all of us as Christians should be to not get lukewarm and to not get sucked in and realize that they're going to begin persecuting us, not just with talking on YouTube, talking at your church. Look over in Ukraine. They're silencing Christian churches. If you're against this order, because their enemy is God. They worship Satan. That's the only war that's going on, is God and the devil. The rest of it is all created by them psychologically. I thank you all again for being here on the website. I hope you're all doing well. I appreciate you being here again. I hope you guys will stick around on the website. I don't know, what I'm doing with Rumble and YouTube right now, but I appreciate everyone here, and I want to make content for you guys here. So I'll continue to do so for the time being. I thank you again. God bless you and your families.